If Bitcoin closes up above 76,000 this month, the bear market is definitively over.
Bitcoin and Ethereum are up over 20% since the start of the Iran war.
I think billions of dollars are coming in through ETFs on a monthly basis through the end of the year.
Here's something flying under the radar for most people putting money into crypto.
You're never in a bear market if Bitcoin closes up 3 consecutive months.
Bitcoin's monthly chart is about to wrap up its third green month in a row. Bear markets just don't behave this way. What we're seeing here is classic bull market behavior, and it's especially typical for an asset bouncing back after a pullback during a bull run. Pullbacks happen all the time, by the way. Closing out May on a strong note would be a big deal, and that's exactly what Tom Lee, who runs research over at Fundstrat, was breaking down earlier today at the Consensus Conference.
You're never in a bear market if Bitcoin closes up 3 consecutive months. So since the inception of Bitcoin, being up 2 months in a row could happen in a bear market. For instance, that happened in 2022. But you've never had 3 consecutive months.
Now look, I want to be honest about something. Sure, Tom Lee could end up being spot on, but the guy doesn't bat 1,000. Rewind to November of last year, and you'll find him making the case for Bitcoin reaching nearly $200,000 a coin, all within the final 6 weeks of the year.
So I think eventually we consolidate and then we rally into year end.
Is there 150?
Yeah, I think we can still get to 150, 200 for Bitcoin, and then something like 7,000 for Ethereum.
That said, Tom Lee isn't some guy who keeps missing the mark. He's nailed plenty of calls. You've seen it for yourself.
We think the best approach for most people is just to put 1% or 2%.
Are you saying that? I get that if you're somebody who's got a lot of assets. I still think it's crazy.
Okay, let me break down 2 key things for you. Number 1, say Tom Lee has this nailed and we're standing at the edge of a brand new bull run. The chart might unfold pretty close to what's on your screen. Prices push higher, then flatness sets in, going nowhere, just a long grind. I don't mean financial hurt, nothing falling off a cliff. I'm talking about the agony of sitting still, week after week. That kind of stretch typically shakes loose a bunch of holders and crushes the spirit of whoever's left, even as the floor underneath quietly gets stronger. Mind you, a fast snapback upward could happen too. Remember, the bulk of people in the market still have no clue what's brewing. A Democratic senator from the U.S. by the name of Brooks said, "I think the Clarity Act can pass. I really do. I think we have resolved the yield issue."
Senator, I'm curious. Look, our audience has really basic questions when it comes to clarity.
Yeah.
Is it going to pass, and is it going to happen this year? Because when you talk about it, you make it sound like there's still a pretty long road.
You know what? I think it can pass. I really do. I mean, I think we've come a long way. I hope so. We've had a lot of work. We've put a lot of work into this. I mean, we've been working tirelessly for months. What it will mean is we're going to have some compromise. You know, I think everyone will walk away from the Clarity table just a little unhappy, both the banks and the crypto industry.
What do you compromise on, though, potentially?
Well, you know what? We've compromised and said we want the innovation to grow, but we don't want to create bank-like products without the protections of a bank. You cannot pretend to be a bank-like product without the protections.
So is stablecoin yield the biggest holdup?
That was a big holdup.
We're still there, though, right?
Well, I think we have. I think we've resolved the yield issue.
We did.
We have resolved the yield issue in a way that I think prevents evasion of the laws. Again, allows the innovation to grow. But you know, we put some barriers in place that will allow both to be a little unhappy, but I think it's a way forward.
How does it create?
So this is on the way. And per Patrick J. Witt, the crypto lead at the White House, the goal is to have the Clarity Act signed by July 4th, which would be a tremendous birthday present for America, celebrating our 250th birthday.
We're going to advance this bill out of the Senate Banking Committee this month. We're going to get it on the Senate floor. We have 4 working weeks, I believe, in June. In the Senate, we'll be able to advance that legislation, get a floor vote, and then provide enough time for the House to pass it. We're targeting July 4th. I think that would be a tremendous birthday present for America, celebrating our 250th.
Moving on to altcoin news. Big stuff here. Your wallet feels this one. Here's my take on Bitcoin's next move. Has Tom Lee lost it? Are we really at the start of another bull cycle? Where I stand is this. You almost never, and I mean almost never, get just one recovery during a bear market before things turn around. Look, the recovery we got was nice. Shows the market's still breathing. That's encouraging. Still, this counts as the first proper recovery in this bear cycle. Now, Tom Lee's data does point to 2011 being a year where exactly one bounce happened in the bear before the bull arrived. So sure, the door's open for that scenario. On top of that, With Bitcoin climbing for anyone trading and oil sliding lower the way it is at this very moment, what are oil prices doing this morning, Lauren?
Okay, so what's that doing to oil prices this morning, Lauren?
Pushing them down. You're at around $91 a barrel. The market hopes to close a deal and open the Strait.
Now picture the bleakest version of events where the Clarity Act flat out fails. Matt Hogan over at Bitwise has a take.
When we talk about institutional capital as well, I mean, I was talking to someone just over there a few hours ago saying how quickly it could just go from 75,000 to 700,000 like that, given the amount of capital that's flowing in. Is there a scenario where that can just happen, where Bitcoin can just run for the sky?
Where you get a melt up? I mean, there's always a scenario where that's possible. I don't think that's my probable outcome. I think this is a long, slow grind kind of bull market where we move up steadily. But it is the case that there's a relatively low amount of supply on exchange. So you have to wonder where the supply is coming from. And there is just strong capital. The thing about institutional capital is it's not quite like retail capital. It comes in slowly and steadily and builds over time. And that's why I think probably the most probable scenario is less volatility and a strong march up. But make no mistake, I think billions of dollars are coming in through ETFs on a monthly basis through the end of the year. I think it'll be really significant.
And is there a scenario as well where, say, the Clarity Act doesn't go through and then the sentiment changes, and just like we've seen in previous cycles where retail has gone away, is there a scenario where institutional capital goes away and they start pulling away from crypto?
It's not what we've seen. So I'll tell you the Bitwise experience. We had essentially no outflows in 2018. We had no outflows in 2022. Most of the ETF money that came in is still there, even though the market is off 50%. The reason institutional capital is diamond hands at this point is that if you're an institution, you're allocating to Bitcoin, you're still on the outlier. So you're not gonna allocate if you're 51% confident. You're gonna wait till you're 80 or 90% confident. Every piece of data suggests that it's some of the strongest holders of crypto that exist. So I don't think we're gonna see sentiment turn on its head. Even if the Clarity Act passes, I think there'll be a wobble in the market. But the institutional bid is still coming. They know that crypto is volatile. They're orienting around adding to it. I think it's going to come almost regardless.
And there's huge news on the XRP front. JP Morgan and MasterCard make the first cross-border U.S. Treasury transfer via the XRP ledger. Huge moment for XRP here, because moves like this were already in the pipeline somewhere. The crowd had its money on Ethereum getting picked, with Solana as the backup option. So the fact XRP walked away with it instead, and that the call came from heavyweight names in the financial world, that says a lot. The cross-border tokenized U.S. Treasury transaction using blockchain and banking rails builds on an earlier pilot in which the same fund moved between a public and permissioned blockchain. Take this as a strong vote of confidence for XRP. The signs point upward, and Ondo Finance gets the same vote of confidence right alongside it. The pilot transaction involved blockchain tokenized platform Ondo Finance redeeming the U.S. undue short-term government treasuries OUSG fund for Ripple on the XRP ledger. If Ondo or XRP makes you feel optimistic, you're going to enjoy this one. Hit the comment section and share your position. Are you riding it up or playing the downside? And what about oil? Fading it or believing in it? Same routine. See you back here tomorrow. I'll have all the latest for you.